Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Listen closely for a second. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Do you hear that? Now, imagine the sound of someone typing on a computer keyboard. Click, click, click. But then, almost immediately, they stop. Backspace, backspace, backspace. They delete everything they just wrote. They stare at the blank screen, take a deep breath, and start over. And then, a few minutes later, they delete it all again. Does this sound familiar to you? Let me ask you a very common question. Imagine you are sitting in a professional job interview. The manager looks at you across the table and asks, "What is your biggest weakness?" What do you say? If you are like millions of other people around the world, you probably smile slightly and give a very proud answer. Well, my biggest weakness is that I am a perfectionist. We say this because we do not actually believe it is a weakness. We think it is a secret superpower. We believe that being a perfectionist means we have incredibly high standards. We think it shows that we care deeply about our work, that we pay attention to the smallest details, and that we will never accept anything less than absolute excellence. Society tells us that perfection is the ultimate goal. From a very young age, we are taught to aim for the perfect score on a school test, the perfect body, the perfect relationship, and the perfect career. Because of this, we wear our perfectionism like a shiny badge of honor. But today, we need to have a very honest and perhaps uncomfortable conversation. We need to expose a comforting lie that you might be telling yourself. Perfectionism is not a superpower. It is not a badge of honor. And it definitely does not mean you simply have high standards. In reality, perfectionism is a beautifully disguised trap. The famous writer Elizabeth Gilbert once shared a very powerful thought. Perfectionism is just procrastination wearing a tuxedo. It looks elegant and professional on the outside, but underneath, it is just a clever way to avoid doing the real work. When you demand perfection from yourself, you are not actually trying to create something great. Instead, you are building an impossible wall between yourself and your goals. You are creating a standard so unnaturally high that you can never reach it. Think about how exhausting this is. You spend hours, days, or even months fixing tiny details that nobody else will ever notice. You feel a constant, heavy anxiety in your chest. Because nothing you do ever feels good enough. And because it never feels good enough, you never finish your projects. You never share your art. You never start that new business. And you never speak up in a second language because you are terrified of making a small grammar mistake. Today, we are going to uncover the hidden psychology behind this beautiful trap. We will explore why trying to be completely flawless is actually destroying your true potential. We will listen to a story about how perfect can become a lonely prison. And most importantly, we will discover how letting go of perfection is the only real way to move your life forward. Part 1. The Story of Elena, the masterpiece nobody saw. To truly understand the heavy cost of perfectionism, let me tell you the story of a young woman named Elena. Elena is incredibly talented. Ever since she was a little girl, she has loved photography. She has a special gift for capturing beautiful moments. The way the golden sunlight hits the leaves in the afternoon, or the honest emotion on a stranger's face. Her dream is to start a photography blog, share her unique art with the world, and build a career as a professional artist. One weekend, Elena travels to the mountains and takes hundreds of stunning photos. When she returns home, she feels a rush of excitement. She chooses the best picture and opens her editing software. She wants it to be absolutely flawless before she shows it to anyone. She adjusts the brightness. She changes the contrast. She zooms in closely to fix a tiny shadow in the corner. 2 hours pass. She looks at the photo and thinks, "The lighting is still not perfect. It looks a little She spends another hour carefully changing the colors. Then, the quiet voice of self-doubt enters her mind. Maybe the angle is wrong. Maybe people will look at this and think, I am just an amateur. I cannot post this until it is a true masterpiece. By the end of the night, Elena is completely exhausted. Her eyes hurt. She saves the photo in a hidden folder on her computer and tells herself she will fix it tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Every time she opens the photo, she only sees its tiny flaws. She never posts it. This same pattern repeats itself for an entire year. Elena takes beautiful pictures. She spends weeks obsessing over small details. She feels deeply anxious and eventually hides the photos away. Today, her computer's hard drive is completely full. It is a digital graveyard of projects that are 99% finished. Nobody has ever seen them. Meanwhile, Elena has a friend named Mark. Mark also loves photography, but his skills are only average. His photos are sometimes a little blurry, and his lighting is definitely not perfect. But Mark has a different rule for himself. He posts one photo every single day, no matter what. People start to notice Mark. Sometimes they leave comments with helpful advice. He learns from his mistakes, and over the year, his photography slowly improves. He builds a large, supportive audience. He is actually living the dream. Elena watches Mark's success and feels a deep, quiet sadness in her heart. She knows she is a much better photographer than he is, but in that moment, she realizes a very painful truth. Her high standards have become a lonely prison. Her masterpieces are completely invisible. Because Elena refused to share anything that wasn't flawless, she shared nothing at all. Her perfectionism did not make her a great artist. It only kept her hidden from the world. Part 2. The Psychology of Perfect. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why does Elena, and why do so many of us, demand such impossible perfection? We like to tell ourselves that it is because we care deeply about quality. We think we are just protecting our personal brand or our professional reputation. But if we look closely at the hidden mechanisms of human psychology, we will find a very different and much darker truth. Deep down, perfectionism is not about quality. It is about fear, and it is about control. Let's explain this in simple terms. Your brain has one primary job: to keep you safe from pain. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, pain meant being chased by a wild animal. Today, pain usually means social rejection, failure, or public embarrassment. When you try to create something new, whether it is writing an essay, speaking a new language, or starting a business, you are making yourself vulnerable. You are putting a piece of yourself out into the world, and that means other people can judge you. They can criticize you. They can laugh at you. Your brain recognizes this danger immediately. It wants to protect your ego from getting hurt, so it creates a very clever defense mechanism: perfectionism. Your brain whispers a very logical-sounding lie. If you make this completely perfect, nobody will be able to criticize it. If it is flawless, you cannot fail. So, you start chasing perfection to protect yourself. But here is the trick your brain plays on you. If you never finish a project because it is not perfect yet, nobody can ever judge it. If you keep the photos hidden on your hard drive, nobody can ever say they are bad. Perfectionism is the ultimate hiding place. It gives you an excuse to never finish, which guarantees you will never be criticized. The sad reality is that perfect does not actually exist. It is a complete illusion. Think of perfection like the horizon you see when you stand on a beach. You can see the line where the ocean meets the sky. But if you get on a boat and sail toward it, the horizon always moves further away. You can never reach it. When you chase perfection, you are chasing a moving target. Every time you improve your skills, your definition of perfect changes. The closer you get to it, the further away it seems. Chasing this illusion is a guaranteed recipe for chronic anxiety, creative block, and absolute paralysis. You stop living your life, and instead, you spend your days safely hiding behind the excuse of high standards. Part 3. The Mindset Shift: Quantity versus Quality. If perfectionism is an illusion that keeps us stuck, how do we break free from it? The answer requires a complete shift in your mindset. You have to stop believing that greatness comes from careful, flawless planning. The reality is that the greatest artists, the most successful business people, and the most fluent language learners did not start with perfect creations. They started with messy, ugly, and imperfect drafts. To prove this, let me share a famous story about a fascinating psychological experiment. A university pottery teacher walked into his classroom on the first day of the semester and divided his students into two groups. He looked at Group A, sitting on the left side of the room, and said, "You are the quality group. For the entire semester, you only need to make one single clay pot, but your grade will depend entirely on how perfect that one pot is." Then, he looked at Group B, sitting on the right side of the room, and said, "You are the quantity group. Your grade will depend only on the weight of the pots you make. If you bring me 50 pounds of pots, you get an A. If you bring me 40 pounds, you get a B. I do not care what they look like, just make as many as you can." The students went to work. For the next few months, Group A sat around a table, theorizing about perfection. They planned, they sketched, and they debated the exact right way to shape the clay. They were terrified of making a mistake on their one important pot. Group B, however, just started throwing clay. They worked quickly. They made ugly pots, crooked pots, and pots that fell apart. But with every mistake they made, they learned something new about how to handle the clay. Their hands got stronger. Their techniques naturally improved. At the end of the semester, the teacher looked at all the pots. A surprising truth was revealed. Every single one of the most beautiful, creative, and high-quality pots came from Group B, the group that was only graded on quantity. While Group A was paralyzed by their desire for perfection, Group B was busy practicing, failing, and growing. This experiment reveals the golden rule of progress. Done is better than perfect. You cannot edit a blank page. You cannot improve a photo that you never took. You cannot correct your English pronunciation if you refuse to speak. Quality does not come from waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from producing a massive quantity of imperfect work. Part 4. 3 gentle steps to escape the perfection trap. Understanding this concept is powerful, but your brain is still going to fight you. When you sit down to work tomorrow, that familiar anxiety will return. You will still feel the strong urge to edit, correct, and hide. To break this deeply rooted habit, you need actionable strategies. Here are 3 gentle, effective steps you can take today to escape the perfection trap. Step 1. Set a drop-dead deadline. Perfectionism expands to fill the time you give it. If you give yourself a week to write a simple email, you will spend a week worrying about every single word. To stop this, you must give yourself strict time limits. We call this a drop-dead deadline. For example, if you are writing a report, set a timer for exactly 45 minutes. When that timer rings, you must stop writing. You must save the document and send it, even if you feel it needs more work. By artificially limiting your time, you force your brain to focus on finishing the task rather than making it flawless. Step 2. Celebrate the ugly first draft. We usually put massive pressure on ourselves to be brilliant on the very first try. You need to change your definition of success for day 1. When you start a new project, your only goal should be to create an ugly first draft. Give yourself radical permission to be terrible. Tell yourself, "Today, I am going to write the worst essay in the world." Or, "Today, I am going to paint a truly ugly picture." When you actively give yourself permission to be bad, the fear disappears. The heavy pressure is lifted. Once you have an ugly draft on paper, You finally have something real to work with. Remember, it is always easier to improve something bad than to create something perfect from nothing. Step 3. Practice intentional imperfection. Because your brain thinks mistakes are dangerous, you need to prove to it that mistakes are actually completely safe. You can do this by practicing intentional imperfection. Do something slightly imperfect on purpose today. Send a text message to a friend and leave a small spelling mistake in it. Post a photo on social media without using any filters. Cook a meal and do not worry if the presentation looks a little messy. By making small, intentional mistakes, you expose your brain to the reality that the world does not end when you are flawed. Nobody points and laughs. The sky does not fall. You teach your nervous system that it is safe to be a normal, imperfect human being. As we come to the end of our journey today, take a deep breath and let go of the heavy expectations you have been carrying on your shoulders. For years, you have been trying to live up to an impossible standard. You have been polishing your ideas in the dark, waiting for the exact right moment to show them to the world. But you now know the truth. You know that perfectionism is not a sign of high standards. It is a shield you use to protect yourself from the fear of failure. You know the story of Elena, whose beautiful art remained invisible because she was trapped in her own mind. And you know the lesson of the pottery class, that true quality only comes from the courage to make a large quantity of messy mistakes. The world does not need your perfect ideas hidden safely on a computer hard drive or locked inside your mind. The world needs your imperfect ideas out in the real world. The real world is messy, unpredictable, and flawed. And that is exactly what makes it beautiful. Right now, you have a choice to make. You can choose the safety of your imagination. In your imagination, your projects are always flawless. Your words are always correct, and you never fail. But in your imagination, nothing is real. Or you can choose the beautiful, messy reality of actual growth. You can choose to step into the light, make mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. Before you leave our channel today, I want to give you a challenge. Think about one project, one email, or one creative idea that you have been hiding because it isn't perfect yet. Your challenge is to finish it and share it today, even if you feel it is only at 70% quality. Let go of the remaining 30%. I want you to go down to the comments section below and make a public promise. Write this sentence: I will release my imperfect work today. Let this community be your witness. Thank you for spending your time with us on our channel today. Remember, done is better than perfect. Go out there, make some beautiful mistakes, and start living up to your true potential. We will see you in the next story.